Something is fishy. Something is very fishy. I found out recently. I was learning about what gaslighting is because I fear I have been gaslit in some relationships I have had, and I did survive a few narcissists in my life. So, like a bull, after being in a few bullfights, it learns its way out of the bull ring. And that led me to having to know more about gaslighting, a term I wasn't really aware until recently, until I started studying about narcissism after a few relationships I have had, after the last attempt of a relationship I have had. And that's what led me to investigate that term, as I found it a lot related to narcissism. And then I learned that it seems possible that you can actually insert memories in the minds of people. And this is terrible because if that is so, and our society currently, thanks to millennials and boomers who broke them, um, everything seems to be about therapy nowadays. And therapists, they 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 have their own issues. I know enough although therapists are not psychologists, I know that. It doesn't imply that they are necessarily psychologists, but a psychologist is one level up in that sense, as far as I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what if I'm right? And I know enough, I met enough psychologists to know many of them are nuts, and forget about psychiatrists. Those at parties, their true self comes out and it's crazy. Anyway, back to the topic, although this is related. Now, I've seen academia. I left academia. I refused to be a part of it because of the things I heard and I've seen there. I cannot condone what was going on in there. And it's a struggle between religious groups and ideological groups, and it's a mess. And every now and then there will be a scandal, it's inevitable, as those two sets of people love the struggle for power. They are blind about it, they don't know how much they hurt themselves and others in the process. To know that a lot of academia today is poisoned by either religion or ideology. And if that is the case, and that is reason why I left academia, despite having had a possibility for a very bright future there, and a lot of those, especially the young psychologists and uh, therapists, might be ideologically driven. And if that is so, uncertain ideologies are terrible because it's not about facts, it's actually about refusing facts. And if you can, if that is true, insert minds in the minds of in the minds of people and their goal is ideology, and ideology corrupt all. It's very concerning what humanity might do to itself once again until they realize the horrors that they have created with it. And laws do not help currently. Laws have been twisted, especially in the 70s with the rise of rebirth of ideology in the West, when we thought it was settled, where they changed laws to the point that an entire gender cannot be legally prosecuted for rape. That's not equality. And not only that, then they made rape guilty until proven innocent. After they only criminalized it for one gender specifically. And memories can be inserted. And those people, they learn how to operate, more or less, with the minds of their clients, with the people that they actually make money from. I'm not sure suddenly it is a good thing for this sort of knowledge to be so easily distributed. And with the current laws that we have, that are extremely sexistic, to the point that, for instance, a woman can just say anything, it doesn't matter what, and a man will be scarred for life legally. By default, society will turn their backs on them. Now, where all this leads? And there are some pretty bad people out there. As I said, I survived narcissists. And because I think, and I think a lot, I mean, people call me a philosopher, if that is true or not. I don't know, too early to tell. I want to pick the mantle, but if I pick the mantle, I'll do the job. Where does this lead? I can only wonder, where does this lead? And because there are bad people out there, might be one of the reasons I secluded myself for so long. I avoided contact because all the madness that is out there, I don't want to be a part of it. And many men are finally realizing seemingly the same thing, that it's dangerous for men, because no matter what they do or what they don't do, not only there are people who, I mean, if you say they couldn't or they wouldn't do that, you are missing something. You probably are so conditioned by what is going on legally and socially that you probably missed that I actually said it several times already. that they changed the laws in the 70s so that only one gender can be legally prosecuted for rape. Now, if you add that, so those are the people. If they are willing to go that far, you're telling me that this is not going on in our society, that there are not men out there who are being falsely accused of rape by less than kind people, regardless of gender. And since it only affects one gender, why would the other gender worry about it? Correct? Especially if they're morally corrupt or if they don't have any morals at all. And then there are the narcissists who will use it in their advantage. Now, I've been lucky enough to avoid all that mess by remaining recluse, by staying away. After I met narcissists in the past, I learned my lesson and I stayed the hell away of those people because they're evil. By their fear and inferiority complex, if you do not know that, narcissists have a massive inferiority complex. And this is why they want to attach themselves to people who they deem to be better than them so they can destroy them. They can learn from them and then ruin them. So I'm just thinking about the amount of, luckily, usually, unless it happens to be a covert narcissist, they are not really that bright. So you can see them coming from miles away. And that's what kind of saved me. But I'm thinking, how many people out there haven't survived? And if you add to that the laws that we currently have, that are extremely one-sided and sexistic, narcissists love that. They love to use the law against people. They love to hide behind an institution so they can pretend to have the higher moral ground while they use those institutions to torment people, to cause them pain and suffering. So I'm just thinking, I heard about several parents, like Robbie Williams, may he rest in peace, may he rest in peace, have suffered, like it seems that he committed suicide because his wives forced him to go back to work after he retired so they could keep their social status, or however it was legally deemed. So he would keep paying them the same amount of money in the millions that he was paying before. And those laws are insane. I mean, if you have a job and you get fired, the company is not obliged to keep paying you for the rest of your life or until you can find a job. You let go and that's it. How is that? How is a marriage at this day and age when both genders can have diplomas and both genders can have a job and both genders are taught to be independent and self-sufficient and resilient and to work and to study and they have diplomas and everything. So, as I said before, and I say it again, we are still living by rules of the 19th century, and we are in the 21st century, or maybe 17th century even, and we are in the 21st century. We are still living by sexist rules. And they solved it by becoming more sexist, not less. Because if you really think about it, as I have, the conclusion that you will draw, as I did, is unless you are conditioned and ideologically driven, so you refuse the facts in pro of your mental fantasy. Talk about gaslighting, right? Very interesting. Ideology and religion might be pure gaslighting, right? Make you believe in things that are not true, that they didn't happen. And this made me think a lot about it. And as you know, I'm talking so I can get it out of my system, because then I don't need to further think about it. I have concluded, and I will actually be very critical and skeptical about what I just said, but it's out of my mind, so I don't need to think about it, because this has been bothering me a lot. Because I, you know, when you realize that this happens, and you know that there are certain kinds of people, there are people out there that some of them even draw pleasure out of other people's miseries, and there must be a lot of that going on. But thank God I don't know about, because I secluded myself. I think technically for the last 10 years of my life, I did. Also, I was a bit curious. I wanted to know how it felt, right? They talked so much about hermits and all that, although I managed to have a family. But still, so that probably saved me, because what I say and the things I have to consider because of the current situation, and if I am indeed a philosopher, as they say I am, uh, I have to do my homework. So I'm just thinking. They can literally make everyone believe in everything nowadays. They have really mastered, it seems. And I hope that there is humanity in the legal system, as I have seen in the past, that they can realize that arbitrary laws are just arbitrary, and humanity should prevail over those things. Because I'm starting to realize the size of the problem that our society has, and how easy it is for the same people that falsely accuse people, to just turn and ignore that over 250,000 girls in England, and I could only imagine in Germany, in France, all over all over the world, that because our authorities just decide, oh no, and worse, they call those girls prostitutes when they were victims of rape. The real thing. And they just, social workers, police, and government politicians, and the little petty bureaucrats that are bound the system that nobody sees, the gray eminence is there, the power behind the throne, the people that can force feed false information to prime ministers and presidents so they can make mistakes, and which seems to be the current problem, when even a politician enters with goodwill and willing to do what they promised, but they are force fed, they are fed false information, misinformation by the bureaucrats that are doing their job and misleading them, because those people might believe in some ideological or religious process that is not factual, that is just a thought in their head that was implanted there. I mean, by learning about gaslighting, and by learning then by accident bumping into the fact, I mean, this is recent, this is a matter of weeks, couple of weeks. So it's only logical to conclude that this is going on. When authorities can just deny 250,000 people as victims, and worse, call them prostitutes when they complain, when they ask for help, when they ask to be saved. What also led me to ponder, why are we importing people? If the problem is lack of population currently, why are we not incentivizing having children? I mean, this is the basic common sense thing that anybody with common sense, oh, people, we have a problem in our society, we need more people. And also the educational system. We are missing we are missing people working in hospitals, fire brigades, and police force, and the things that we need to keep a society safe and healthy. And instead, we have a stupid, useless thing. It is useless. It is useless. Because, let's say, if you're going to study economics, even if you learned it in high school, some of the things, statistics and functions and fractions you learn in early school, but you get the gist, right? Algebra and all those things. They still give you a course if you want to take it at university as a bachelor degree. I know I studied economics. I should know about that. Amongst other things, I studied a lot of stuff. But it's just mind boggling that people don't realize that. I guess this is why they need philosophers. People who can see society just climbing, marching, running towards the cliff, and nobody is stopping them, and they just keep doing it because they don't know any better, it seems. They're being misled. They were probably misled by people who just want to play with power rather than use it properly. Right? Again, narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, and they all seem like psychopaths even have a function. Like it's a good thing to have a psychopath to operate because they don't feel a speck of empathy, so they can just properly, like, probably, I don't know, I haven't researched, but logic dictates, it's a hypothesis that some surgeons might be psychopaths, because especially the very good ones, because you need to be cold as a razor blade in order to do those things, right? In order to cut a person open and just while you're singing a song in your head. And yeah, so even that seems to have a function. Sociopaths are interesting characters. You can actually use them for good. They just don't like being lied to. That's the thing. That's when their game begin. I also met, wouldn't say survive, because they seem to like me because I don't hide. Uh, I don't have anything to hide, do I? Well, we all have in a certain way because people are very judgmental, but you get the gist. Um, I'm just thinking where this is going because it's going somewhere. Everything goes somewhere, right? Isn't that the laws of physics? So where will it end? And when I see society doing silly things as importing people that look, it's not good for them. They get a clash. They come to the society and everything is so weird and wrong in their minds, wrong in their eyes. Can you imagine? Like, try to imagine you were brainwashed, beaten, because that's the way it is. If you question for a minute certain religions or ideologies, your local society will beat you up until you, and especially as a child, you learn very quickly not to say no. to those bad ideas. Some of them are very bad ideas. And they already have a gaslighting for that. They call it, like, if people want to talk about it, the what they call normies now, they are calling it rage bait. Is to bait you into raging instead of realizing, hey, we have a problem in our society. In one country alone, it seems that over 250,000 girls were raped. And can't narcissists use it against anyone they don't like? I mean, they can just claim that. Because feminists back in the 70s made it one gender only in several countries, maybe not all. And then, right after that, they made it guilty until proven innocent. Plus, society already. It was already a taboo in society. So, added to that, you know, I saw an article about English mother, since I was looking at the English news because of the recent event. I saw an article about an English mother that committed suicide because I think her 15-year-old son was falsely accused by a girl because she was bored. She was bored. She later on regretted, folks, don't worry. Nothing happened to her. But the boy killed himself. Why? Because his friends disappeared. They didn't want to hang out with him. She said he was, therefore, right? And I think he was kicked out of school. So he couldn't, random people in the streets were coming up and beating him up. For the people who say that it's rape culture. No, it's not. Rape is highly punished in our culture. Not in other cultures, some other cultures, but in our culture it is severely punished already before feminists even touched this. They just touched it, so it seems, prove me wrong, but what if I'm right? They just touched the topic to remove themselves from the equation, which is very odd because, call it coincidence, because it seems what? 76% of same sex female relationships end up in violence because it's not legally allowed to call it rape, you see, because they're women. Therefore, legally speaking, an arbitrary rule, arbitrary laws seems to be a problem. So those women who are in those violent relationships, not to call it rape, but it's probably some rape involved, right? Violence, what kind of violence? Why the violence? Violence, why? They refuse something from the other mate, and therefore the other mate get violent and assaults them. But of course, it cannot be called rape, right? So women in some countries today can't be legally prosecuted for rape, even if that's what they did. In the same tone that foreigners, because of their religion or whatever lame excuse they might have, they think, they believe they have, they don't, do that with clean conscience that the law commands, and then the law bats an eye because they are not locals for whatever reason. It makes sense to you, it doesn't make sense to me, it's illogical. You know, it's only right when we do it. Illogical. I'm just thinking there must be a lot of horrible, because again, those things tend to be a tip of an iceberg. So you only see the tip of an iceberg. It seems 10% of the iceberg only. There's a lot below the water. So if we are getting over 250,000 girls in England, who knows how much they have in Germany, in France, Spain, and all those countries that are being populated, invited by the current government. I don't know why, because they're losing money, a huge amount of money. They are not making as much as they are losing. which is unwise. Uh, it's odd that governments can do it and get away with it. Oh, yeah, because they have the monopoly of force, therefore, right? So weird. Um, I had to think about those things just by learning about narcissists because I got curious since I survived some, and they said, "Oh, those are narcissists. That's what they did." Like, so, okay. What about that? And I decided to check. Then I bumped into the word several times, gaslighting, because I know they lie. They're compulsive. Narcissists, they lie without the need of it, just because they can. So they lie. Who's gonna stop them, right? And if they find out that there are laws that favor them, that benefit them, to lie their ass off, and there won't be prosecution, right? So the most violent gender that seems to be, because if there are same-sex relationships at the highest rate, when how was it? The male homosexuals, it was 7%. 7% of the cases that happen to be domestic violence or end up in violence amongst homosexuals. Right? They are all men. Same-sex male relationships. That should be like, if we are really the most violent gender, that should be kind of the most, but no, it's women. Probably because they can get away with it. So they just do it. They know they can't be harmed. They try a bit, nothing happened. They try a bit more because monkey see, monkey does. So they keep trying until it blows up, and then nothing happened because, like, not nothing, assault or battery or whatever, but not what it was, probably rape, right? There's murder every now and then, but murder, they can be filed. But also, then I found out, much to my amazement, that women, to this day, that's something feminists could go as far as to change the law in order to only prosecute men and boys too, they're not free. Suddenly, children, right, are not exempt from that crime. Only women and girls by default, but not men and boys. Boys are also guilty if they are caught raping someone. So they can be legally prosecuted for it, sometimes even as adults. So isn't that unfair? What kind of fairness is that? So now, so they had the power to even remove that law and make it guilty until proven innocent. And society will destroy you if they find out that you're being called or you're being deemed a rapist, even if you're not, and even if it goes away. Now, I've been in fights, which is not the same, with men, and for self-defense. And I've seen some people after the event, like, I remember that once, a pedophile in Brazil assaulted my sister. And he thought I wasn't around, but I'm always in the dark. So I caught him, and well, I kicked his ass. And then later on, people came and said, "See, when he got caught, when he finally got caught, he was a he was an evil person. Like, he was not just trying to, play with my minor sister. He was trying to, like, when I looked, she was she was shouting for me. When I looked, he had her head between the bars of a window, and he was pulling her arms up from behind, pulling her arms up to hurt, to really hurt. And he was laughing like a maniac. He was utterly enjoying the moment. He was that kind of person. Now, he has been arrested. I believe he spent 10, 11 years in jail. Not after that, because it didn't happen, so we couldn't do much. But after the event, when he was caught because they found out he abused, raped several children, boys. His thing was boys, right? And he was caught. He was working in one of those summer colonies, right? And the owner got suspicious of some of the material he had in his car, like looking through the windows, and he saw like a lot of boys' underwears, and then he called the police, and the police investigated, and there were several pictures, albums. He was taking pictures of the guy was a horrible person. I say that. I don't know if he's alive or dead. I mean, he has been in jail. Okay, the law took him. So I don't know where he is now. And should I care? Right? So he had this thing. And after that, when he was caught, my sister told me that people came to her and said, see? Because when people came to her, hey, why did you fight with that guy? Well, I told him. My sister told him. He was saying that I was jealous of my. You see how that kind of people operate, right? They never admit. Of course, they know that what they are doing is wrong. That's what he took pleasure on. I saw his real face. It was interesting to see a true psychopath. I believe that was a psychopath. He wasn't a sociopath. Sociopaths are brave, usually. They're not afraid of anyone. And not a narcissist. It was really psychopathy. So it seems, right? So luckily they're not that bright. So they can easily get caught. But after the event, when he was caught for doing wrong things, and that's the current society we live in. Let that sink in, right? They came to my sister, because of course they wouldn't dare come to me, bunch of cowards. They came to my sister and said, see, he only rapes boys. Can you believe it? Society, people. That's society, right? That's society for you. They don't care. And if they don't like you for whatever reason, they envy you or whatever, they will use that to feel good about themselves instead of being factual, right? So it's abhorrent, but I've seen a few cases. I remember when I was a church boy, yeah, one of those bellboys in church, the boys that push each other to see who's going to ring the. I used to be very religious, but then I studied theology, amongst other things. And that made me realize that the whole thing is a lie. It's made up. They know it's made up. They explain to you in details how made up it is, but they still allow it to continue despite academia and all that, the facts, the science. So when I heard you're not here to learn anything because some other student was making pertinent questions, the professor couldn't answer, so the professor threw that curveball to a great mind there. No, it wasn't me. You see, society. People already assume, no. It was another guy. I don't even remember him, but I remember the discussion there. He was arguing about a point that the professor made that was flawed. And the professor looked at him with another professor taking notes, ideologically driven people, right? You could see, once you know academia, you know how it is. And the professor said, "Oh, you are," pointing to the whole class, right? "You're not here to learn anything. You're here to be indoctrinated." And then I heard that, and me and three other people, well, I was not the only one. I picked my stuff and I left. I left that classroom. That was enough of academia for me. Academia, right? Academia for me. And it's one of the finest universities. 1 year after my ideas were being exposed in the Museum of Contemporary Art of Paris, and my alma mater had a huge scandal in the Faculty of Theology because they found out that the professors were intentionally not passing students if they did not endorse a religious faction or an ideological one, because those are, as I said in the beginning of the video, those are the two biggest factions currently fighting for power at universities. It's insanity. It's a waste of time. It's destroying lives. They couldn't care less. What kind of academia is that? It's a joke that they dare use that name for based in the original academia. As my philosophy professor would have said, if the original philosophers could hear what passes for philosophy currently, they would be spinning in their graves. They could generate power. I get him now after I've seen what I've seen. So it really made me think. You start connecting and you start realizing something similar as Nietzsche and Dostoevsky and Tolstoy realized before communism became big, and those new old ideologies of the 19th century, before that bloomed in its full horrendous glory of death and destruction and absolute nihilism. How is it? Well, yeah, one of the most popular ideological leaders of the early 20th century said, "One death is a tragedy, a million deaths is just statistics." The same guy who, to show how humans work, he picked up a chicken. Oh, Diogenes, why did you give them that idea? And he plucked the chicken alive, he beat it, he threw it in the floor, and the chicken was all hurt and cornered up in a little corner, all scared. And then he started throwing corn bits in the floor and calling the chicken to corn and offering corn. And then the chicken slowly started eating the corn and following the trail. And then he smiled to his audience of equally ideologically driven maniacs. They were maniacs. They killed so many people. A maniac would do that, right? And he said, "See, this is how." Oh, somebody. Ah. This is how easy it is to lead humans, regardless of what you might do to them. You just offer them a little bit and they will follow you to death. The same guy. And another one of those guys, what was it? The right is in the power behind the barrel of a gun or something like that. Maniacs, absolute maniacs. And people like Nietzsche and Tolstoy, they saw what was going to happen based in the end of religion. That was indoctrination, conditioning as well, but at least people ate. And they were horrified because once religion went away, they knew that this probably what was coming. I don't say go back to religion because the reason that those ideologies managed to rise was because of the horrendous things that religion were doing to its own people. And I just say, what? No, giving people a reason to. Again, I've been in church. I've seen and heard a lot. Right? Was going to talk about the priest that we were under. That didn't touch me because my father had a reputation of being a very violent man. I can tell you, he lived to that reputation. So, of course, that kind of coward wouldn't dare touch me. But he was raping the children of the orphanage, of the church's orphanage. And one day during a mass, I have said it in a few videos behind, and he was a very good priest despite that. That's what the society around said. When he broke up, he couldn't do it anymore. He broke up in the middle of a mass, and he started crying, and he started saying all the heinous things that he did to the kids, right? So that's religion. Where's the God now? And you know what? The fine society, the decent citizens, the one with the gold ring, well married and decent job, and the influent people of society, they hugged him and they said, "No, but you're such a good priest. Stay," because he wanted to deliver himself to the authorities. Kudos for doing that, but the society prevented, and what? Amidst his tears of regret, at least he regretted, because this is what happens when you don't let a grown person have sex, that they have to do celibacy. That's insanity. Why? I heard, I don't know if it is true, but it seems to be, because then the church doesn't need to pay pension and alimony or whatever, child support, if they pass away, for the children and wives of the priests and nuns. So, seems to be the reason, right? It's a cold financial reason. Whenever there's a big problem in society, follow the money, always follow the money. You'll find a trail of gold corn that follows. Poor chickens. But chickens? Poor chicken, right? Chicken plural as well as singular. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't spoken English in a long time. Proper English, that is. Broken English, I have spoken. But you get the gist. And that's our beautiful society. And currently, our society is completely bonkers about making it as unfair possible as it is. And it's only a matter of time. If it is not happening already, I don't know. I've been secluded. How the hell would I know? For the last 10 years at least, away from society proper. Only returning recently, I already did good job. Already took a person who suffered from depression. I literally cured, because after a year of me helping that person up with knowledge, with just common sense, and the person's very intelligent, I managed to literally cure him from depression, because he was in a proper unit, like residential unit for people who suffered from mental issues, and he had to find his apartment recently because in the last meetings they realized that he no longer had depression, just by giving someone guidelines. Men and women are so desperate because they are led clueless. Our current society past the religious hypocrisy into absolute ideological madness. And this might become a problem if it is not already, because I'm clueless of what is going on out there. Because I have things I have to take care of in my private life. I I became aware of the laws, and they were absolutely insane and uneven and completely unequal. There's no equality. Feminists didn't search for equality. They search for destruction, absolute destruction of a gender. I mean, if you doubt me, you read Self-Made Man, who that was written by a lesbian um, journalist who believed that men had it too easy, and to prove that, she passed as a man for 18 months, and she wrote a book about it, and her shock was so great of the way that women treat men today and society treat men. There is no saving for men. Even if they don't do anything, there is no saving. Because people have been so conditioned, pumped by decades of absolute propaganda against a whole gender. Isn't that sexism? For things most men, not only they don't do, they find it heinous, which it is. It's insanity. It's sexism. It's not better, it's worse. Because one thing is when you didn't know psychology, when you didn't know why things, but you try to protect. And that's the problem with religion. It tried to protect so much that it made people absolute ignorance. And this is why those ideologies risen, because they saw, like people saw that there was something wrong and they didn't have any better. So whatever came along, they took it. Turns out it was as bad, if not absolute worse. But that's for another video. I'm just trying to, because I'm realizing where it leads to, as Nietzsche realized, where the absolution of religion, which was necessary, we need to drop it. It's backwards. It makes us ignorant and superstitious, and we can't solve problems because of it. For hundreds of years, for 1,000 years at least, it made people in Europe so ignorant that they forgot the basics of sanitation, which caused the plagues that destroyed most of the priestly class that was crushing the will and crushing the intelligence of people to die out, because they too were made ignorant to the point that they didn't know that if you touch someone with a plague and you get close in an ambient full of it, you might get infected. And because they had to do extreme unction, most of the priestless class died out, and because most of the priestless class, priest, priest, priestly, priest class, most of the religious caste died out. They couldn't crush people's will and intellect, and little by little, information start resurfacing, and voila, we had the Enlightenment, and then the Renaissance, and then the Industrial Age because of that, because we started catching on from where we left before religion took over and absolutely destroyed our civilizations that were like great. And because of that, we had a rebirth, Renaissance, same thing, that led us to secularism once again, separation of church and state, which led us to absolute power over everyone and everything, because religion is castrating, mentally castrating. So that's what happens with too much religion. So we were backwards. We were made backwards. We were not backwards before, we were made backwards by this stupid religion that goes as far as to impede people from actually doing what the Bible literally says that they should do. That was to procreate, to multiply in that sense. That's the level of insanity of religions that led, therefore, people realizing there was something wrong, so they picked the new ideas, new ideologies. And voila, death and destruction, more death and destruction, even worse, and hypocrisy. And this is why we should drop religion and ideology altogether. Ideology is the new destroyer of worlds. It's the new hypocrisy. And it's causing problems. And those laws that changed in the 70s in several countries, even India, even England, even countries that call themselves rational, took it. Just not to sound rude. Hello, society. Brain dead society. So I'm concerned with this new information, this new data that I have now acquired, that we now have the knowledge even to be able, it seems, to implant ideas or memories. We can create memories in the minds of people, it seems, with the new psychology that we have. And I'm not sure it's a good thing that that kind of knowledge goes out there into the world, unlike if people really knew what religions preach. And I can say religions, regardless of the religion, most at least, preach are completely wrong. Some people that consider cities their holy cities since the beginning of time, those cities didn't exist until what, the 17th century, 19th century? No, 17th century. They didn't exist. Can you imagine that? And you are made believe, that those cities always have existed. They haven't. It's a hoax, another hoax. And several other examples that I have touched in the past and I might consider in the future, depending on how society goes. It's just tiresome sometimes to realize that the problem has such simple solution and people just won't take it for whatever reason. I don't know the reason. There can be several reasons, several small reasons, a gathering of little reasons that turn into a big reason for them to ruin themselves, to castrate themselves from doing things that they want to do, and that would not be wrong. Look, I'm not talking about rape here, okay? Rape is wrong, regardless. My liberty stops when somebody else's liberty begins. That's what I believe. We used to believe, the left used to believe, or claim to believe that, but as I've seen in religion, now I'm seeing in ideology. They want to touch the kids, they want to harm the kids. That's wrong. There shouldn't be. However, there's another problem because since they are religious, like ideologically led, they will lie. They will lie, they will make stuff up about people they don't like. And if they don't like an entire gender and they back each other's up. I mean, I mentioned the lesbian, I forgot her name right now, that wrote the book about she pretended to be a man. She passed as a man for 18 months. And she was so horrified with the way that men were treated that even after the event, she went to therapy, she went to a psychiatrist, and she was interned, like they put her in a mental institution after that. and she killed herself because she couldn't deal with all the abuse and neglect and absolute horror and torture that men are put through, and we are led to believe that that's just the way things are, which they are not. Because then I started say, reading what is it that she found that is wrong. Oh my God, this is okay. Yeah, oh yeah, oh. For a woman as she is, she realized although she likes women, that doesn't mean she stopped being a woman if she likes women. Not necessarily. So she was aboard, and she felt, because she's a human being, a mentally healthy human being, she was, may she rest in peace, she couldn't deal because she realized what her gender was doing to the other gender, and suddenly all her notions of right and wrong flashed across her eyes, and she realized, I wouldn't recommend nobody to kill themselves. You can, in fact, by staying alive and fighting for facts, not for ideology, not for religion, but for the sheer reality itself, for the facts, for things that are, because if we can insert memories, if we can create memories in the minds of people, an ideology, a specific set of ideologies are running out wild in the world, as religion once did, one can only imagine. I hope we can realize and stop it before it gets out of control, but I'm pretty sure gaslighting and the creation of memories in the minds of people, if that is really a thing, it seems to be, before a lot of damage can be done to humankind. Because I can only imagine, if we have an ideology that condemns an entire gender, and they receive funding, they receive backing, like they have. I remember I once was going to enter one of their offices in the center of the city of Copenhagen, but I was barred at the entrance because, I was a man. So men apparently are not welcome. Hey, equality! Equality, beautiful people. Sorry, sir, you can't enter there. Well, I could have played. Are you assuming my gender? How dare you? But no, I don't think they buy it. Don't turfs have a lot against homosexuals? So I couldn't pretend to be one because regardless, it's only right when we do it. They would still they might lynch me if I said I would be a homosexual. God forbid, right? But yeah, I couldn't enter because the passive aggressiveness in the environment was too much for me to handle without breaking up in laughter. So I didn't want to hurt their fifis. So despite the fact that they were intentionally trying to hurt mine, but hey, equality, right? Only one specific gender. I mean, and I think Ben is starting to realize, hey, wait a minute, wasn't it all about equality? What's going on here? That's not equality. Right? Hey, we gave you everything. You wanted everything. We gave you the kitchen sink. We gave you, you wanted golden boots. We gave you golden boots. You want whatever. Oh, you want to vote. But unlike men that had to forfeit for fate, for whatever, to have refused their right to refuse military service in time of war for exchange of the vote. Oh, women don't need that. They can have the vote and not serve if they don't feel like serving. Women don't have that luxury. It's a luxury, right? If there's war, men. Look, feminism ended for me after the Ukraine war. Okay, the Ukrainian war ended feminism officially, factually, because what happened there, nothing wrong. I think fair assessment, because the Russians were clearly raping women and children. So the women were free to go to other countries to be safe, while the men were forced into fighting the war, even those, the few, which I don't like, I don't approve. I think Ukraine is a nice, fine country. They were showing extreme progress, they always did, and it should be a man's duty to defend their country at war. Yes, it should be. Because when we used to do that, our societies thrived. When we stopped doing that, look at the mess, right? Some say, is it true, is it not? I don't know. But some say, and so it seems for those, that we are being invaded. That's a given fact. How do I know? How can I say? You ask them, they will tell you, yes, this is ours now. We will populate the place and you cease to be. So bend over now before it's too late for you. Because we are going to kill you all, they said. So they are saying that. I'm not saying it, I'm just repeating what they are saying. Because they are saying that in our faces. And the stupid gits that rule our society currently don't seem to see it. Now, again, follow the money. Whenever there's something like that, or in this case, worse, follow the drugs. Have you noticed that some, if not most, if not all, of our current politicians seem to have a drug issue, a drug dependency issue? Have you seen the people who decide things for us currently? You should take a look at them. You'll clearly see, right? Regardless of the environment and the suit, they look like some deeply addicted people you might find in the streets in the lowest part of society, lowest part of the city. So start investigating that. We have a problem in our society. We have a big problem. And it's already making victims. By the hundreds of thousands. I'm pretty sure by the millions by now. But I am a pessimist. I always believe that things can get better. Nothing is worse than the current time. So optimists are the ones that always believe things can get worse. And I have to come with some comedy to take the weight of all that I'm currently realizing about ideology that permeates currently our society, that needs to go away, because it's making victims. It's going to make victims if it is not doing. It's already doing. Like we can see 250 girls there. So God knows how much more. This is the tip of the iceberg, I'm pretty sure. But bad people are going to use it badly, and they are going to insert memories in the minds of the people that they want to hurt, or worse, in the minds of people that are around the people that they want to hurt. Now again, I'm off currently of society. I haven't seen society in at least 10 years. And that cured me, I must tell you, of a lot of issues I used to have that I don't anymore. Because I don't have to deal with that kind of poisonous, toxic people. I don't have to deal with that. And that gave me such a peace of mind that I really don't want sometimes to return to society, to be a part of it, because it's not just insanity, because insanity you can cope with. All you need to do with insanity is pretend to agree and keep a safe distance. No, it's It's the evil people in society that are currently, you seem to be, taking full advantage of the dystopia, of the arbitrary rules that we have to destroy us all. Because all this is destruction, is pure destruction. And this, technology is giving us an illusion that we are moving forward. And in one metric, we are. Now, if we take other metrics, we are not. Right? We are losing money, a lot of money. We are bleeding money in bad projects, in this whole intentional project of letting people that hate us into our countries. We don't hate them. We welcome them. We are paying for them to stay. We're inviting them in. We obviously don't hate them. We love them. But they seem to have a big issue with us. Hello, religion again, right? We are bringing religion back into secular society. What could go wrong? It happened before, folks. It happened before, okay? It's happening again. They are doing it again. They're going to, and this time, there might not be a saving because the people, like one thing are the people from the north of Europe that, for whatever reason, seem to have figured things out and taken advantage of it. The others, they seem to be the lowest IQ in the world, and you cannot say it legally without getting into legal problems in many countries. Luckily, I seem to be in a country that lets you still speak that for the moment being. So I have to take full advantage. Hey, it was legal then. My bad. Please don't hurt me. I won't do it again, I promise. If it changes, I'm just preparing for the future. Preparing for the future. But I hope that future never happens. If enough people speak up to stop it, free speech is the canary in the coal mine. It's the warning. If that goes, that canary is dead, if this is no longer a canary, a gone canary, a deceased canary, our society will collapse again, and it will become extremely ignorant, and I don't even know if superstitious anymore, because people will probably not believe in anything then, which can be much worse in many ways. It won't be a torturous living, it would be just flat out hell, as it has been in the countries where those ideologies prevail. Because they don't even care about economy. They care about the big lie. And everybody has to lie, and if you don't lie, you're going to suffer consequences, although you're already suffering. Oh boy, you don't have a clue of how bad things can get for you if you just speak against, if you just tell the truth. And I don't want that for anybody, for my future generations. I don't know what to do about it. I'm just one person speaking in a place that is not even mine, because that ship has sailed. It has sailed. And what do you mean? I own my house. No, you don't. If you don't pay your property taxes, they can kick you out. It's not yours. It's an illusion. Arbitrary rules. They got you there. So I don't know what you are paying for, but it's not yours, okay? Stop that illusion. Just because you can afford, once, I've never been interested really in money. Never really. Only to learn how it works, so I know what to expect. But I'm not an ambitious person. I play with the concept sometimes for fun, for my own amusement and that of my friends. Even came with a few concepts in that sense, for fun. Mental exercises to learn how a society can be structured, how a society works. So you have to make models, right? That's what I did. And I learned a lot. I learned that it's easier than you think. They make it look difficult, but it's easy. I know many people do. Some people that were working with my project found it too difficult, but only after they've been ideologically framed. After they embraced an ideology, suddenly it became complicated and they left. Odd coincidence. But again, that might be for another topic. Problem is, I was learning about this gaslighting because of narcissism. And then now I know that there are people out there with the knowledge. I don't have that knowledge, but they know, because it's a thing, it is a thing, that they can literally create memories in the minds of women that in our current society, despite their denial, have absolute control over our society. They can do everything, choose everything, deny everything, accuse everything, and nothing happens to them. Nothing seems to happen. Does something happen? Tell me, because I am not aware. I searched, I seeked. So they are impugned for now, because that serves to destroy the men, right? If there is a logic behind this. So men gotta go first, because they are, if they say no and they stand firm, so we have to demoralize them. But once that is gone, women are next. Why? Because they're always next in the war. And sure, now it's not a ooga booga war with sticks and bones, so it's not that obvious. It's a momentum war, very interesting. It was economic, but now it passes to something else. It's almost transcending to something metaphysical. We will get there. We will return the cycle, no matter how they try to end the most spiritualized people amongst us. I'm not sure if that's possible, but they did a lot of damage in that sense, which is bad. But I said metaphysical, not religious. Know the difference. Pragma, not dogma. Know the difference. Learn the terms to even understand what the hell I'm saying. And that can be interpreted in several ways. But anyway, because some words have more than one meaning, so. But that's pretty bad. If they can really do that, and it seems they can, what's stopping ideologically driven people who base that a whole gender is evil by default, no matter what, from inserting that in the minds of women, in the minds of men? So they start believing that as well, that they are the cause of all evil, so they hang themselves or they kill themselves, like that 15-year-old boy falsely accused after he killed himself. And it seems only after the mother killed herself that the girl said, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." Why? Because then suddenly a woman was involved. Then the girl felt guilty, because they are taught not to feel guilty at all if a man dies, regardless, right? She destroyed the boy's life. He lost his friends. He lost his family, probably most of the family, if not all of them, turned against him by default. We are conditioned beings, and in that case is a good thing, but in that case is also a bad thing. Right? Rape is bad, but we stopped once again doing the innocent until proven guilty. And for that boy that didn't have the mental structure and the experience to know that if he just keeps fighting back, eventually the truth comes out there, and the people who left him because they thought he did something wrong don't return and still persist in error after he'd been proven innocent. And again, remember the thing I told about my sister. After I caught a rapist, a pedophile, and I did to him what I hope the law did. Um, when he was caught being guilty, people came to my sister and told her, "Ah, see, he only rapes boys." So, in other words, he didn't rape you. You understand? That's not even. I'm not sure they did it for evil. I'm sure they did it for envy, for stupidity, just because they could, right? Because my sister obviously is not me, and they know that. So they would torment her, right? But anyway, crazy, 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 crazy world. And by the way, I didn't do anything. Officially, I deny everything. Okay? Um, so, because nothing happened. Okay? It happened, but it didn't happen. So, blows my mind, blows yours, blows mine too. Anyway, now that's sinking. When it's very hard for people who can see past a certain bar that society sets. When you realize the potential damage that is going on and we don't see, we are not even aware. I can't because I've been out of society for a decade at least. And before that, raising my family. So I don't know much of what is going on out there. Lucky for me, I guess. But it troubles me because I like people. And I'm just thinking, if someone in the ideologically driven, I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm trying to, you see, that's the thing. Writers of the past, thinkers of the past, they only wrote the conclusions and the process that led to the conclusions. They didn't show the whole thinking process, and you have to ruminate it a few times over and over to try to see it from completely different perspectives to get to a goal. They didn't show the whole process. They show the proper academic format of presentation, but they didn't show what I'm going on. I've seen people, intelligent people, do that too. The whole, killing the darlings process. It's a wording in, it's a slang in publicity. Something else I studied. Uh, Multimedia and design. Killing the darlings is like you have those ideas, they're brilliant ideas in your head, but then you gather a team and you expose your ideas, and then they have to beat their ideas down. That process in publicity is called killing the darlings, right? In order to reach a factual conclusion, something that really catchy, really makes sense, really good, and everybody agrees. So it's a beautiful process, but it can be wrong. In the middle of the brainstorming process, they never show the brainstorming. What I'm doing right now, I'm brainstorming. I'm trying to brainstorm a solution out of this because there should be one. And it's very simple. I can literally touch it, but it's still far away. Because until society realizes and catches up to it, the problem will still persist. And it is out there. It is happening. That's a certain. Because nobody's talking about it, or I don't know anybody who is. Which means that probably a lot of those therapists and psychologists and other ideologically driven nut jobs are using women, men, to feel guilty about themselves for things they haven't done. But again, you can create memories. And if you learn how to operate a person's mind, you probably can do that. If you are aware of it, which they must be, because they studied it, they must be. Children, they might insert that in insert memories in children. They might be harming families. Like it happened, I think, during the satanic panic in the 80s, that they put a lot of like old ladies that worked in kindergarten, I think it was, or primary school. The police, by the way that they were phrasing the questions to the children, and children are very creative, they were leading the children to say things that could incriminate the old ladies that were taking care of them, because their parents are forced into work instead of, because they were led to believe that if everybody works in society, then that's good for society, and it doesn't generate a problem that is like work out of the home, right? We managed to reach, we were doing that in the past. In the recent past, like women and men were working the fields and mines and everything. But then we achieved a technological level that women could stay home with their kids and raise their kids as they see fit, while the men went out there and braved the world and worked during the daytime to provide for the whole family. How they did it, it was very individual from family to family. It was not a whole thing. It was very private. And privacy back then was a thing. I know nowadays people might even believe it was possible, but it was. We didn't have this constant, update of everything that is happening at the same time right now. So I don't know. Maybe society will realize by itself. I hope we manage to build structure enough in our current society, in the secular society, that this time around we can prevent the new ideologically or religious hell that might be coming, might be already here. Because there might be, I'm pretty sure there is, some bad people putting ideas in the minds of children. Because it happened in the 80s, satanic panic. Those children literally told the police, were misled to tell the police that the old ladies were part of a satanic cult and they had caves and a whole complex under the school where they perform satanic rituals. There doesn't seem to be evidence of that. If there is, please tell me. But later on, they found out that the way that the police was questioning the children, and children love attention, so they would do anything when they saw the police officers and their parents smiling every time they said something. They kept on saying those things to make the grown-ups happy. Because you make the grown-ups up happy, you get cookies and candy. So that created a problem in our society. Luckily, it went away because it became so absurd, and people fought back. Suddenly, we have a heavy metal and all that. But that's another story. But pertaining the topic, right? We might be undergoing, or very close to undergo, a similar hell, right? And I think this time might be worse if our society don't put a stop to it, a rational stop to it. Say no, come on. Right? Because if we really have the knowledge, and again, I know I'm repeating, but I need to figure something out of it, because that affects everyone. Because we will have a lot of very bad people, if we don't have, we have already, putting ideas in the mind of children and women and men that wrong is being done when no wrong is done. And I'm not sure, well, definitely not, I'm definitely sure it's not a good thing for our society as a whole. And we already have holes enough in our society currently. I mean, instead of just saying, okay, people, This thing of everybody being nihilistic about family, that was bullshit. That was an ideological drivel. That was an idea that didn't work. We do need more people at a certain age than the elderly to support the elderly. Otherwise, we are going to crack. So start making some babies there and create a whole plethora of opportunities and possibilities for families. It's not hard. It's happening already. I know it happens. You get certain benefits. It's not the other way around. You don't become poor. The entire like there are people in, for instance, in the U.S., uh, especially amongst some minorities, that they have a lot of children. So because each child seems to give a certain amount of money, so they actually make money out of having children. So I don't know how our Western civilization is telling people that children waste a lot of money and, oh, not in the current financial situation, while some people that are apparently more smarter than the intelligent people, watch Idiocracy, gives you a general idea at the beginning of the movie, uh, believe in that bullshit. But hey, because you're saying, but how can it be? They're so intelligent. Have you noticed that the cult, the people who are into cults, it's usually university students who enter cults. Have you ever thought about that? You don't find working class, well, they have religion, but again, not the same thing. Really not. As a cult, that you can get out of it, like you're not supposed to, and you have to. They do this whole thing that they start breathing together to get you in the same rhythm to become, affect the reptilian brain. So you start believing that you're part of a. So again, if they can already do that, and they do that, and it's proven, it's a thing, right? Cults do that. They can insert memory. They can create memories, make you believe that you did things that you didn't, or you didn't do things that you did, and go with it. It's a mess. It will become a mess. It, like I've seen, they already messed up entire gender. I've seen that guy I've been helping, and now his brother, which was even because younger brother, he saw his big brother couldn't deal with the absurdity of certain things, so he just gave up. He went even further in a created guilt of things he hadn't done. He couldn't, he was a child. So his brother, seeing that it worked, his older brother is coming out of it, and now he himself is starting to show up and be more social, and even taking showers. Oh, taking showers. Because an entire gender has been deemed guilty until proven innocent in our current society. Again, it's our technology that gives the veneer, rightfully so, that we are evolving, that we are developing. But ideas can destroy that. Ideas can antagonize with technology to the point that it destroys. We lost the knowledge of original concrete that lasts for thousands of years, because it seems to be self-sustainable. And we lost that. We lost a lot of knowledge about a lot of things that now we are rediscovering little by little, bit by bit, by finding out. And it's only possible because the religious people died in droves during the plagues that they caused themselves because of the ignorance that they were embedded with. I don't want that to happen again. I don't want humanity not humanity. I don't want society to sin against philosophy once more. And thing is, I don't know what to do about it. I don't know if I should do anything about it. What I can do is to try to figure out a solution to it, as others have done when they had similar different troubles. And with that, expect, hope that people stop it this time around when they couldn't in the past. Because this is going to be bad. If bad people can just make an entire family remember things that they didn't do as if they did, it's going to be something. I hope it's not the case. I hope I'm just currently too impressed for what I just realized, what I just learned, and that there are checks and balances in that sense that might prevent bad people from actually doing that kind of harm. I don't know how, because I've seen how the current legal system works. It doesn't. It works against by default, and it's not beneficial. Definitely not beneficial for children. It's not. It's not. It's not. And it made me even realize that this whole thing, oh, children can't decide anything, they don't have a power decision. Is it really good that we believe that? Because I've seen children who have been abused. Now we see the 250,000 girls. Let that sink in. It's probably bigger than the city you currently live in. Who, despite being raped, society just pretended that they weren't. And if they complained, they were called, you're a prostitute. A 12-year-old, 11-year-old prostitute. Let that sink in. That's the current position of our society. Just because they were raped by the protected minority of the time. Problem is you. It's not what we chose to do with you, what we let happen to you. It's never our fault. If there's a problem, it's yours. School, same thing. Again, we are lacking people in hospitals to do basic big job, simple tasks, menial tasks. Just half like 4 hours a day or something. A school time, right? And we have all this, intelligent, capable, strong, idle young men and young women in high school that are not getting paid to study, just continuing school that you will get an update regardless in university anyway. I know it was offered to me, so I know. I didn't need it, but it was offered. It was there, right there. It was an option. Oh, if you want to have a class in algebra, if you want to have a class in statistics, if you want to have a class in this and that, anything pertaining mathematics or whatever. It was in economics, so other studies in history, whatever. If you need an update in this science, in that culture, in that, it's there. So what's the point of high school? High school is useless. Not only useless, it's counterproductive. Because at that age, young people should be working, starting their life, getting their own money. As I used to. I had a signed contract when I was 17. I was working since God knows when. 9, I was helping my dad. 12, I was working in a club, in a tennis club. 17, I had a signed contract as a teacher, language teacher. in the best, in the top executive level course. Up Deck was the name of the course. Until, unfortunately, I got dragged into, what's the word? Kerfuffle between the top management. One of the teachers was fucking the other, and they didn't like me, and they didn't like some others. So when the former manager moved back to his hometown, the new management, a woman, she didn't like me. I was too. She knew she wouldn't be able to shag me, so she ditched me. She let me go, although I was one of the best. And so much so, I can say that because when I joined another course, English teacher course, language teacher, the test I made, an American who was then the most prominent figure in that new course, she said, "Man, you got better grades in the admission test than I did. I just wanted you to know that. Americans, I like their working ethics. They can be cuckoo, but I like their working ethics. They still have it. So this is why it seemed to work, despite all that their politicians are doing to destroy it, because they are. That's another topic that is pertaining, but I'm just concerned, you know. We are giving guns to monkeys. You understand what I mean? That's what we are doing right now. We are giving the knowledge of how to mess with the human mind to extremely idiotic or dangerous or evil or nasty or selfish or unreasonable, sexistic, toxic people will be able to not only cash out of it, make money out of it, out of destroying families, whatever they want to do, but creating memories in the minds of people. That is something that really kind of, oh no, I need to figure a way to stop that. This is madness. The only way I found so far is to tell the truth, remain truthful, and know what you did. Try to write down, if that helps. I don't think. You have to train your mind to have good memory and to know, to have the knowledge at least, that there might be people trying to create memories in your mind to make you believe you didn't do things that you did and you did things that you didn't. Now, we are adults, I think we can catch that better, but I'm thinking about the children. They might be victims of that. That might be a problem. And I've seen the damage that narcissists can do, and they do, and you know what? They enjoy it. They seem to enjoy it. Whatever the reasons, however, because they feel inferior or whatever, they seem to enjoy it. And that's a problem. So, yeah. I love you all. Just an average day for me, trying to fix a problem that others are making, to try to give my little help to humanity, because humanity needs help. It's not over yet. Humanity needs help. Especially now that we are giving monkeys guns. So, we are giving guns to monkeys. So, to people, what I'm trying to say is we are giving knowledge, we are giving a power to people that won't be able to handle it properly. They will mishandle it. And how to stop that? How to prevent that, right? It might be a danger. Because there are ideologies that are clearly intended. Proof is in the pudding. It's not what people say, it's what people do. that should be taken into consideration. You can say anything. You can say pigs can fly. Can pigs fly? No. But you can say it. But yeah, just one of my lowbrow thoughts here. So, love you all.